to be decking it concrete. That way, it's going to be hurricane-proof. Our God and our Father, we want to thank you for provisions.
No one we met spoke of defeat. They may step out of damaged homes and into muddy streets.
We are worshiping under a roof, even though it's not the original sanctuary roof.
But they come together to celebrate, to overcome, out of ruin, rebirth.
Rob Reiner's directing career really began with the 1984 mockumentary rock and roll spoof, This Is Spinal Tap. His first feature didn't have a screenplay or a conventional plot, just an idea from a TV sketch Reiner had made with Michael McKean and Christopher Guest goofing around as rockers.
You guys were schoolmates?
We're not university material.
What's that on your finger?
It's my gun.
And it was hysterical. They were in character. And we said, geez, it would be great to find a way to take these characters and do something more than just this little 3-minute bit.
And so Spinal Tap was born with Rob Reiner himself as Marty DiBergi.
Tall, blonde geek with glasses.
Good drummer.
Great look, good drummer.
Good drummer.
Fine.
What happened to him?
He died. He died in a bizarre gardening accident some years back.
After 30 days of improv, the first cut was 7 hours, but they whittled it down, revealing classic moments of rock and roll lunacy.
If you can see, the numbers all go to 11.
Some of Spinal Tap's biggest fans were the musicians themselves.
Sting came in to meet me for a part, and he said he'd seen the movie like 50 times. He says, every time. He says, I look at it, he says, I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
1987 brought When Harry Met Sally, a movie about two friends who at first, is it possible to have negative chemistry?
Greg?
No, I don't like to eat between meals.
I'll roll down the window.
Working with a stellar script from Nora Ephron, Reiner was inspired by his own unlucky love life. He might have been unlucky in romance, but when it came to casting, he had rising star Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan in one of her first leading roles. The result, hilarious moments of synchronized screwball comedy.
What did you do?
No one I know would call at this hour.
So awful.
I need to talk.
What happened?
What's the matter?
Harry came over last
I
night.
went over to Sally's last night.
Because I was upset that Joe was getting married.
And one thing led to
And
another.
before I knew it, we were kissing.
To make a
and
long
then
story short, we did it.
They did it.
Now, if you're going to talk about Harry Met Sally, we got to talk about the big O moment, Meg Ryan's orgasm scene.
And most women at one time or another have done it, so you do the math.
Except for the first take, Ryan didn't quite meet the moment. So...
And so I said, look, Meg, let me show you. So now I sit down. I sit down, and I'm sitting opposite Billy. I'm pounding the table, pounding. Yes, yes, I'm doing the whole thing. Yes, yes. And I realize I'm having an orgasm in front of my mother. My mother's sitting over there.
Oh, God. Oh, yes, 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 yes.
And that's because the woman who delivers one of the funniest lines in the film...
I'll have what she's having.
...was Reiner's own mother. Oh, and one more bittersweet detail. Because of Reiner's own single life, Harry Met Sally was originally supposed to end sadly.
Then I meet the woman who I've now been married to for 36 years. And so I changed the ending.
And if that doesn't sound like a Hollywood fairy tale, let's move to 1989's The Princess Bride.
Since the invention of love, there have been 7 truly great romances. Wesley and Buttercups was easily in the top 3.
Hold it. Is this a kissing book?
But this kissing book, which became a beloved classic, was for the longest time the movie that couldn't get made. Norman Jewison tried, Robert Redford had tried. So Reiner went to ask William Goldman, the guy who wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
At the door, he greeted me. He said, "This is my baby. I want this on my tombstone. This is my favorite thing I've ever written in my life. And basically, well, what are you going to do with it?"
The result, a film filled with so many indelible moments from Mandy Patinkin, who had lost his own father as a young man as Inigo Montoya.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
To the enduring love of Wesley and Buttercup.
Inconceivable.
And yet Reiner conceived of that and so much more.
We're just 2 months away from the Winter Olympics in Milan, and I'm here at the Verdun Auditorium to see the national women's hockey team play. Not Canada. Yes, I'm talking about the Italian women's national hockey team here in Montreal for a month-long intensive training camp. As the host country, the Italian players wanted to be sure they'd be ready to take on powerhouses like Canada and the United States.
Training in such an environment in Canada, you know, the motherland of hockey, so it's been great.
But why specifically Montreal? The team's general manager is none other than Hockey Hall of Famer Danielle Sauvageau, the woman behind the bench for Canada's first hockey gold in 50 years at the Salt Lake City Olympics in 2002. But that's not the only Quebec connection.
The way it's going to work.
Coaching the team is Éric Bouchard, assistant coach of the Shawinigan Cataract in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League.
Having a chance to work with elite hockey players like that, having a chance to build something special with the team, really resonated with me.
The last time the Italian women's team played in the Olympics was in 2006, again as hosts in Torino. For these players, the chance to play at home is exciting, but also nerve-wracking.
No one expects us to reach the levels that the Olympics have, but we are very confident that we're going to shock the hockey world.
The Italians have a veteran amongst them. Laura Fortino was on the Canadian Olympic team that won gold in Sochi and silver in Pyeongchang. As an Italian-Canadian dual citizen, she can now play for Italy.
Experiencing this journey is very special to me. You know, this is representing my family and my roots.
These women are giving it all they've got and say they can't wait to hear Forza Italia yelled proudly from the stands in Milan. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
When news broke there was a mass shooting at the world-renowned Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia.
This is just where it happened behind us. Look right across Bondi. This is a scene you never could have imagined.
We knew 2 things would be true. 1, there would be a lot of people around when bullets started flying. And 2, there would also be lots of cameras.
Oh!
That piece of video, which has circulated now around the world, it very possibly represents the moment the course of the entire shooting changed instantly. Two men, two fathers, wrestling for control of a single gun. The man who had been doing the shooting in the black shirt, white pants, his son is also armed at this moment, firing on civilians about 50 meters away. The man in the white shirt, about to put himself in harm's way.
That man is a genuine hero, and I've got no doubt that there are many, many people alive tonight as a result of his bravery.
I'm going to show you what happened, and a warning, the footage you'll see is raw, and the events they depict deeply disturbing. But we can begin by setting the scene and answering the question, why open fire here?
It is Australia's worst mass shooting in nearly 30 years. After 15 people died, including a 10-year-old girl. 40 others remain in hospital.
Bondi Beach is Australia's most famous beach. Millions of people visit a year, tens of thousands a day. And that was most certainly the case on this particular day, December 14th.
The start of Hanukkah and the start of summer in Sydney, Australia was supposed to be a celebration.
This event was called Hanukkah by the Sea. Well over 1,000 people were there, according to local police. It took place near the children's playground, for all ages, billed as a family event. It was also unique because of its time zone. Sydney would be one of the first places on Earth on this day to welcome the light of the menorah, except instead, there was gunfire.
About 6:47 p.m. this evening, police started to receive a number of reports of shots fired at Archer Park.
Archer Park is on the northern half of Bondi Beach. The playground mentioned in the event poster is here, and those celebrating would have been in this grassy area. But this bridge would become the focal point, because it's from here a pair of shooters would eventually open fire.
I can say that we are not looking for a further offender. We are satisfied that there were 2 offenders involved in yesterday's incident.
The shooters, police say, are father and son. The guns used, possibly legally owned, because one of the suspects had 6 guns licensed to him, and police found 6 guns on site and in a subsequent search in a different location. In this verified video footage, there's a point at which we can see the father in the white pants moving down the stairs. This is the bridge he and his son were firing from. Here are the stairs he's walking down towards this set of picnic tables. Now, I've watched a few different angles of what happens next, and by matching and time-stamping these angles right down to the second, by my count, the father spends 2 minutes and 12 seconds at ground level, while his son is firing from the bridge above. At that point, 2 minutes and 12 seconds later, a bystander sneaks up on the father. Oh! That man in the white shirt is Ahmed Al-Ahmed, a 43-year-old father of 2 young girls. That's him in hospital with gunshot wounds, with the Premier of New South Wales calling him a real-life hero. Now, the takedown video, even if you've seen it before, what you probably didn't know was that Al-Ahmed was in even more danger than he probably realized. We've synchronized these 2 angles, so they're showing the same moment in time, but from different vantage points. On the left, the gun being wrestled away. But see how quickly the shooter's son realizes that his father's in trouble. He notices, rushes down the stairs, and gives cover fire while his father makes his way back to the bridge. It takes him 40 seconds to get there from the moment he loses his gun, at which point his son waves him up, shuffles to the side, takes a few paces, very quickly ducks down, which we can see taking place from this angle as well. There's the wave, partially obscured by the lamppost. His father immediately makes his way up the stairs, and there's that sidestep shuffle, a few paces, then immediately taking cover. The 2 shooters are under fire themselves. Police have arrived by this point, and we won't show you the most graphic parts of the shootout that follow, but within about 35 seconds of father and son being reunited in their shooting spree on the bridge, the father is hit, killed, we would later learn. His son has almost no time to tend to his father at all because he's taking fire from multiple angles. He's shooting, ducking, but only lasts another couple of minutes. He's shot multiple times from a distance. He collapses, and a minute later, Bystanders are actually the first to press into the scene, realizing both shooters are down and signaling to police that it's okay to approach. One of them is even possibly mistaken for a gunman himself. Which is maybe a reminder of how dangerous it can be to approach the scene of an active shooting. But police eventually close in and arrest the lone surviving gunman while shouting at the civilians crowding around them, especially the ones who've decided to get into a fist fight, to just get out.
What we saw yesterday was an act of pure evil, an act of anti-Semitism, an act of terrorism on our shores.
At the time I record this, there are at least 15 dead, 16 if you include one of the shooters, and many more injured, including children.
The victims' age ranges are from as young as 10 to 87.
Officials also believe this was a targeted attack against the Jewish community.
I think it's important to say we can't let these evil people divide Australia up. That's what these terrorists want. They want Australians divided and at each other's throats, and we can't let that happen. In fact, we won't let that happen.
But two questions investigators will be asking. What drove the shooters to such violence? And could authorities have seen this coming? There are questions about possible links, even an investigation going back years looking into the shooters and their relationships with known terror groups operating in Australia.
This is a massive, complex, and just beginning investigation. It's just begun, and there are things that tonight we don't have the answers to.
We do know, however, the attack could have been much worse. On top of the guns used to kill and wound dozens of people, police also found 2 improvised explosive devices on site. Both failed to go off.
The California home of legendary film director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle, now a crime scene. The couple found dead, reportedly stabbed in an apparent homicide. Their 32-year-old son in custody.
Nick Reiner, a suspect in this case, he was subsequently booked for murder.
His father's death at 78 and the shocking circumstances, leaving many in the industry stunned.
Rob was like a father to me.
You guys want to go see a dead body?
Jerry O'Connell was just 11 when he filmed Stand By Me, directed by Reiner, and he credits the filmmaker with launching his career.
Everything I have is because of Rob Reiner. Everything I have. Everything I have. It's just a sad, shocking day.
Hollywood now paying tribute to the acclaimed actor, director, and producer.
He was, as they say in Hollywood, a mensch, a trustworthy and friendly and stable and reliable person that it was fun to be with.
The son of Carl Reiner, a highly successful actor and director.
That's all you care about, Archie.
Rob Reiner's own career took off with his role on the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. But he made his mark directing hit films like This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, and A Few Good Men.
You can't handle the truth.
So many of the sayings that have really just infused our language.
Inconceivable.
He had one of the kind of greatest unparalleled runs as a Hollywood filmmaker.
Reiner was also an outspoken political activist, involved in efforts to legalize same-sex marriage in California, and a vocal critic of the Trump administration. The U.S. president reacted to his death by lashing out on social media.
Just want my kids to be happy and my family to be happy, that's all.
Reiner's wife, Michelle, 68, was an actress, photographer, and producer. Their son, Nick, struggled with addiction. Rob Reiner worked with him on the movie Being Charlie, that was loosely based on Nick's life. That son now held without bail. Any motive unclear, as Rob Reiner's many fans mourn his loss. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Montreal.
This is quite high for what we're used to.
Living across the Chilliwack River in BC's Fraser Valley, David McBride is closely watching the water.
It could come up. It's living in the valley, it always could come up, right? Like that's part of living here.
Environment Canada issued more flood warnings Monday, with as much as 80 millimeters of rain in the forecast.
This remains a dynamic and evolving situation, and the risks are real.
The region is already reeling from an atmospheric river last week that shut down major highways.
And I have, I think about 16 trucks booked for tomorrow, and they're all delayed too.
This trucking company now playing catch-up, with some drivers having to make 2 or 3 trips a day to the Port of Vancouver.
It's affecting everybody, not only trucking, the people who need these pipes, the people who need the lumber.
The storm also put hundreds of people under evacuation orders and alerts.
Yeah, it's been a challenging few days of constantly pivoting and sleeplessness and worry and stress.
With many of the evacuation orders now lifted, this cafe is back open after being forced to shut down for days.
So hopefully we'll stay busy within the next few days and we'll be able to make that up.
But officials warn the situation can quickly change and the risk has expanded beyond the Fraser Valley. A flood warning now in place for the North Shore Mountains overlooking Vancouver as warm temperatures melt snow at higher elevations.
The ground is saturated in many areas. The rivers are full. Additional rainfall is going to increase the potential for more flooding and landslides.
Monday's storm has downed trees and power lines, leaving thousands on the North Shore and in the Fraser Valley without power. While power is coming back on for many, officials are encouraging residents to have a household emergency kit that includes essentials like food, water, and a flashlight in case of another outage.
And Yasmin, the rain has eased for now, but we're hearing more is on the way?
That's right. Parts of the lower mainland could see showers for the rest of the week. And while it's expected to be less than the rainfall that the region has already experienced, it certainly won't help floodwaters recede.
Thanks, Yasmin. Yasmin Renea in Abbotsford, BC tonight.
Flu keeps filling children's hospitals, and now officials say 3 children in the Ottawa area have died.
It is unusual to see this number of deaths over such a short period of time.
Ottawa's top doctor says the children were between the ages of 5 and 9 years old, but did not say if they were vaccinated or had any other health concerns. CHEO, the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, also says it's facing a surge of patients. More than 300 tests came back positive for influenza in the first 10 days of December, a striking spike compared to the same period last year when there were just 11. Ontario data also shows more than half of flu tests across the province are now coming back positive among kids and teens.
That's sky high. That means the amount of influenza circulating among school-age kids is really tremendous right now.
It's devastating every time that we hear stories like this, because nobody wants anyone to go through this.
Jill Promoli lost her 2-year-old son Jude to influenza in 2016. He was both healthy and vaccinated, but she says you never know for sure who's at risk.
I don't want other people to be in our shoes.
Advocates and doctors are calling on Canadians to get the flu shot, saying there's still time to protect loved ones at many holiday gatherings.
If you got your vaccine today, you'd have a pretty good chance of having some protection 10 days out.
Experts say this year's flu surge is driven by H3N2, a strain linked to more hospital admissions, which also features mutations making it a mismatch for the latest vaccine. This pediatrician says the flu shot is never perfect, but
it's better than nothing.
And in a bad flu season like this, every bit of protection counts. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Overall inflation is holding steady, but grocery prices are taking a bite out of budgets, rising 4.7%, the fastest pace in nearly 2 years.
Berries, citrus, orange, lemons, limes, cabbage, all of them are going up.
At Monthers Aid's independent grocery store in Winnipeg, he says he tries hard to get the best prices for his customers.
We're noticing that people are really shopping around when it comes to meat and produce.
Smaller cattle herds pushed the cost of beef up nearly 18% in November compared to the year before. American tariffs and extreme weather have made coffee nearly 28% more expensive.
You have yield issues in coffee-producing regions. We can't snap our fingers and just say, well, let's just double production. And so those price increases have been persistent.
Experts say a weaker Canadian dollar can also make grocery imports more expensive.
I think what we'll see going forward is food prices will continue to be much more variable than they have in the past 20 or 30 years.
Let's do a $40 grocery haul in Canada.
Diana Skakovac has made it her mission to save money at the store using coupons and price matching.
Open up the flyer, see what's on sale, and kind of try and shop around that.
With the holidays around the corner, she's stretching her dollars even further.
We're going to probably trade the turkey in for a chicken because I find that a little easier to make anyways. And you know, as compared to some of the roasts around nowadays, it's more cost effective.
One area Canadians are getting a little relief is at the pump. Gas prices are about 8% lower than a year ago. That's been the case for a few months now because of the removal of the consumer carbon tax. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
I call it Trauma Tower. And my tongue is nowhere near my cheek when I say that.
Tracy Nicholson cried tears of joy when her 11-year wait for social housing ended with an apartment at 381 Bagot Street. 3.5 years later, she's left with a very different emotion.
And when it gets dark, my fear level goes up to like an 8 or a 9. I am terrified.
At one point, she was so desperate for a sense of safety, she did something drastic.
I just got in my car and drove to Walmart and slept in my car for a couple of nights.
Police statistics show the building had logged 366 calls for service as of the end of November. That's the most of any residential address in Kingston and more than double the runner-up. There's been a spike in fire department responses too, with 68 so far in 2025, far higher than the past 2 years. Nicholson says she started to think of herself more as a first responder than a resident, carrying naloxone in case she finds someone overdosing and a can of spray meant to scare off attacking coyotes every time she walks out the door.
And I keep my middle finger on it and I hold it down beside me until I get outside in case I have to spray someone to give me enough time to get to safety.
Photos shared by residents of the building show people taking drugs, used needles, and garbage strewn across the stairs.
It is a building that has multiple issues that KFHC has and is addressing.
The CEO of the housing corporation that runs the high-rise says there's been a change in its tenant population and the kind of visitors they bring.
The drug trafficking, human trafficking, mental health challenges, it's people coming into the building and the homeless that I mentioned, the criminal activity that is not caused by our tenants.
She says changes to improve security are coming, including automated locks starting in the new year. But it's up to residents to protect themselves, too.
When they're in their unit, they need to ensure that their door is locked, they're not out wandering late at night in the hallways.
I don't agree with those comments.
City Councillor Greg Ridge says tenants should feel safe in their homes, but what he's witnessed in the building left him disturbed.
I have seen bloodstains. I've seen presumably human feces in the hallways.
He grew up visiting his grandmother at 381 Bagot and says it wasn't always this way.
It was quieter, it was cleaner, and there was more of a sense of community.
The councillor says a shortage in social housing means residents who have managed to find a spot are essentially trapped there. Nicholson counts herself among that group and says she doesn't have much faith changing the locks will keep out problems that are already inside.
This entire building is unsafe because there are people in the building that are unsafe.
Nicholson says at this point she doesn't see her apartment as a home, just a storage unit she sleeps in. Dan Takema, CBC News, Kingston.
We know rents in Montreal have been going up and up in the past few years. But according to this new government report, the rental market in Montreal is easing. The vacancy rate went up to 2.9%, which means that there are more rental units up for grabs. Despite that, 2025 was a tough year for renters in Montreal. That's because there aren't a lot of affordable housing units available in the market. So, what will next year look like?
So next year, probably with the slower population growth and once again a lot of supply coming to the market, it's going to be, I would say, more challenging for landlords to attract tenants.
The province also introduced a new way of calculating rent increases. As of 2026, Quebec's Housing Tribunal will take into account changes in prices, variations in taxes, and even insurance costs. And Cordolino says that will end up putting more pressure on landlords.
And with the new formula you also use by the TAL, probably landlords will have, I would say, less room to increase rents when the tenant stays in the apartment.
Now, let's talk about the fact that the population is growing more slowly. The CMHC says that there are fewer international students and temporary workers in town, and they typically settle in neighborhoods like downtown and the NDG area. This is where the CMHC says the vacancy rate is at 6% and expected to keep going up. So landlords say they are preparing.
I see the next year to be an occasion for communication between landlord and tenants and make sure that we agree on something and that we find a point where we reach an agreement.
Monsieur says instead of slapping you with a rent increase through a paper notice, landlords and tenants will sit down and talk about each other's needs and negotiate. In some cases, there will also be incentives, such as a free month or waiving certain fees to attract renters to areas that are struggling. But housing advocates say this is not necessarily good news for renters.
Even if the vacancy rate has increased, so there is more availability, what is available is really expensive. So the crisis is not finished. For a lot of tenants at low income, modest income, finding some place that they can afford will stay a real struggle for the next months, years.
Lucia says the government isn't buying or building enough affordable and social housing. And if it doesn't ramp it up in the next year, it's likely more people will be forced out onto the streets.
Whether it's spitting, biting, hitting, yelling, or insulting, teachers in Quebec are feeling increasingly unsafe in class.
The situation is not getting any better.
This art teacher knows that firsthand. Max Canuel was stabbed by one of his high school students in 2021. He almost died and has been on leave since.
I'm sure overall it's probably one of the most extreme cases. Unfortunately, a lot of the administrations, whether the school administration or the school board administration, their kind of reflex is to minimize things and avoid the bad PR.
The FAE Teachers Federation is releasing the results of a study conducted in the spring. Of 2,500 teachers surveyed, 81% say they faced verbal abuse from students. 63% said they were victims of physical violence, roughly a 42% increase since 2010.
The violence is very, very, very present in our schools right now, and it is very crucial that we do something quickly about it.
The FAE wants to get the province's ear so Quebec can help schools hire more staff specialized in behavioral issues. Opposition parties accuse the CAQ government of ignoring the problem and forcing schools to make cuts in their spending.
Despite the money that was available for the school boards, what we see is that they didn't have the possibility to hire the staff that could tackle this issue.
Once upon a time in Quebec, we had professional staff in the schools that were able to do prevention. Because a kid that is violent is a kid that is suffering.
In a statement, Education Minister Sonia Labelle pushed back on that, saying support staff are now in half of the classrooms in the province. She said violence and bullying cannot be tolerated in schools, and she's open to meeting with the Teachers Federation to hear out their concerns.
New data from Statistics Canada shows the rate of human trafficking on PEI is above the national one. Human trafficking is when someone exploits another person for some sort of material benefit, usually money, and it often involves forcing people to do work they do not want to do. Last year, PEI had a human trafficking rate of 2.8 incidents per 100,000 people. The national rate is 1.5 incidents. There were 5 police-reported cases on the island, and last year was the first time in the last decade police have had any incidents to report.
What it actually tells us is that it's the beginning of awareness in PEI. When you have growing awareness, you're going to have more cases being reported and detected, and then you're going to start to see rates climb. So it's not that human trafficking wasn't here beforehand, it was, but it's that we're just at the beginning of awareness, and that is progress, actually.
Statistics Canada says human trafficking is a problem right across the country, with cases increasing every year, but says it is hard to see the big picture on PEI with just 1 year of data.
I don't want to be here today, and I don't want to be speaking 9 years to the day since my brother's tragic death. I'm asking the same thing for now almost a decade.
Youssef Fakiri has been calling for accountability for what happened to his brother Solomon for years. Solomon suffered from a schizoaffective disorder. He was taken to the Central East Correctional Center in Lindsay, Ontario on December 4th, 2016, after allegedly stabbing a neighbor, something he was never convicted of. While in custody, some guards did try to help him as he appeared to be suffering from a psychotic episode. On December 15th, he was dragged into a cell after allegedly spitting on a guard. He was tied up, put in a spit hood, and beaten to death.
A coroner's inquest 2 years ago deemed his death a homicide. 57 recommendations to build a path forward to transforming corrections. Yet 2 years later, and now 9 years to Solly's death, not once has the Ontario government reached out to my family to engage with us.
The family has been calling for an apology and for the government to act on the recommendations, which would improve conditions for people experiencing mental health issues within the prison system, and for the province to establish an independent inspector to provide oversight and conduct investigations where appropriate. At an unrelated press conference, the Premier was asked about the recommendations.
We're always trying to make sure that anyone that works there is professional, and if they don't act professional, then they're going to be held accountable. Minister Solicitor General is acting on the recommendations already. He's doing a great job, and we're going to continue doing a great job. And the other thing, what we need, we need to build more correctional facilities.
Spending billions of dollars to build new prisons is not the solution.
Fakiri's brother was flanked by the Shadow Attorney General for the official opposition and a human rights advocate.
When people in crisis are warehoused, when Soliman was warehoused instead of supported, when mental illness is treated with pepper spray and restraints instead of with care, we are all made less safe.
The Solicitor General's office did not respond directly when asked which recommendations are being worked on, as the Premier said. It says it's established a new health services division to ensure people in custody, including those with mental health and addictions issues, receive support. No one from the government has reached out directly to the Fakiri family. The Premier added this during his comments.
At the end of the day, stay out of the jails. Stop breaking the laws, and you won't have anything to worry about.
Youssef Fakiri called Ford's comments tone-deaf and tragic. Dale Manaktak, CBC News, Toronto.
It must seem like one big adventure for Habiba Abu Zarqa. The 9-month-old exudes the kind of carefree confidence that only a baby has. For her parents, this journey has been much harsher. The Abu Zarqas were evacuated from Gaza to Turkey 3 months ago. Back then, they were a family of 5 with 2 young children in need of urgent hospital care. Today, there are only 4 of them.
When would that picture have been taken?
This was their son Abdullah, a few days before the family's medical evacuation.
He was sick. We come from Gaza to here. And after 4 days, he's sick. He's dead.
He suffered from a condition that weakened his bones and left him with a vitamin D deficiency. With the war and with no medications, his condition grew worse, said his dad, Hani Mohammed. But there has been little time to grieve. Habiba also needs life-saving care.
To do something?
That's the sound of an alarm warning that her blood sugar is too low. So her father prepares a specialized formula. She has a rare condition where her body has a hard time handling and storing glucose. For now, she's fed through a nasal tube, getting tests and treatment that were just not available in Gaza's beleaguered hospitals. The doctors there helped us and they were good, but they didn't have enough resources to diagnose her, he said. In Gaza, those hospitals still functioning are overwhelmed. According to the World Health Organization, more than 16,000 patients are waiting for medical evacuation. The group Doctors Without Borders says that over the past 2 years, more than 900 have died while waiting for a way out. Among the most vulnerable, some of those born into war. Mariam Abu Mustafa isn't even 2 years old. She's losing weight and regressing, and doctors don't know why. A hospital in Italy has agreed to treat her, but her family is still waiting. They've been telling me today or tomorrow for 4 months, said her mother, Dua. Doctors and health officials have been pleading for all of Gaza's borders to be reopened so more patients can get the potentially life-saving care they need. Since the start of the war, more than 10,000 have been allowed out of Gaza to receive medical care. The patients include those with cancer, chronic conditions, and traumatic injuries.
There is nerve injury and partial paralysis of this muscle.
Mohamed Hamouda shows his badly scarred legs, debilitating injuries he suffered at the end of June when an Israeli bomb struck a few meters away from him.
I was walking in the street. There is explosion beside me.
Now he's waiting to see a surgeon.
I hope that I don't lose my job as physiotherapist because I am responsible for family, 3 children and wife.
And they're all here in Turkey, in a temporary housing unit originally built for the survivors of the 2023 earthquake in this region. Up until a month and a half ago, the family was living in a tent, forced to move around a dozen times because of the threat of airstrikes. In the early weeks of the war, Hamouda's house and his clinic were destroyed in northern Gaza. He found work cooking food in a kitchen run by a non-profit, but then he was severely injured.
At the first time when they say me in the bed in the hospital, they shock, crying, and hug me and ask me why you are in the bed.
Ever since he left the hospital, his children frequently cling to his side.
The mid of the night, they woke me, Baba, Baba, are you still alive? I want to hug you like this.
That must be hard for you to hear when you hear your kids asking those questions.
I speak with you and my brain in the past. It is so difficult time.
There are fears for families still back in Gaza, mixed with relief for being given a way out. Back at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, Abu Mustafa finally got the call she was waiting for. A freelance videographer working for CBC News was there as she packed and got ready to take her daughter and young son to Italy. Thank God, after all of the suffering, finally she will be evacuated, she said. This ambulance is taking them on the first part of their journey. She's unclear how long she will be able to stay in Italy and just what Gaza will be like when she does return. None of these families know the answer to that. But for now, this housing complex in Turkey has become a neighborhood for Gazans, a play space between medical appointments, and above all, Hamouda says, somewhere safe for his children.
They need to learn, and they need to play, and they need to discover the world.
He wants to try and learn Turkish and register his children for school, but he worries he won't be able to make a full recovery, and about where they will all go just once he finishes his medical treatment here.
This is the hospital.
Jamaica had never seen a hurricane like this.
Yeah,
So this is
it, right here.
Right here, see the roof is gone. Look at these posts there, everything.
A Category 5 storm which pummeled the island nation, shearing the roof off Cornwall Regional Hospital's surgical ward
Magnitude.
that Dr. Delroy Frey oversees.
Along here and upstairs were patients. We had to move them quickly into those areas that were concrete roofs.
If your nurses had not got people out, what would have happened?
Casualty would have been high. I wouldn't believe that a roof like this could have been blown off.
Dr. Frey tells us these videos show what the hospital looked like during the storm. 6 weeks later, the ward has a new roof.
Right along here.
Patients will soon be returning. The Montego Bay Hospital certainly needs the space.
And as you can see from what we see in the accident and emergency area, it's cramped. We are not happy with the cramped nature, but under the circumstances, it's the best that we can do to give our patients the best care. Morning, morning. Morning.
The emergency department, forced to move to a less damaged building, is crowded with injuries and illness.
The roof was damaged. We had to fix back this very quickly.
In many cases, patients who were unable to reach medical care until now.
A lot of our patients were marooned in some areas of this parish. They had injuries, especially diabetic foot injuries, and they were not able to present early enough.
Because the roads were blocked, they're surrounded by water.
They just couldn't get into hospital.
Yeah. To relieve some of the pressure on the packed ER, up to 50 patients a day are redirected to this tent outside. It's run by the registered charity Canadian Medical Assistance Teams.
Do you take any medications? This is Dr. Juliana.
Where nurses and doctors like Calgary's Juliana Deutscher are volunteering.
Just gonna take the tape off here.
This team takes on patients who can be treated faster, giving the Jamaican doctors and nurses crucial time to care for the more complex cases.
The majority of our work here includes a lot of broken bones, wound repair. Yeah, and you can feel me touching here and here. And can you put your thumb up like this? Yeah, push really hard. Yeah, nice. Okay. The department is still very busy. We're helping to offload about 30 to 40% of the patient volume per day. You might have lost your medications in the hurricane. Maybe you don't have a fridge to store your insulin.
Alrighty, Miss Ronnie.
And so we're seeing worsenings of the chronic medical conditions.
We took you over to x-rays. Dr. Juliana's going to take a look at it and reassess you.
It's been really phenomenal to see and to hear stories every single day. Patients are sharing with us, colleagues are sharing with us about the ongoing challenges that they're facing, even a month post-hurricane, and how they're overcoming that.
You guys are doing a marvelous
job.
job.
Thank you.
God bless the Canadians.
The hurricane's effects will be long-lasting. Floodwaters still being swept from homes. Damage estimated between $9 and $10 billion. And in the mud and water left behind, a bacteria carried in the urine of animals. Leptospirosis then infects humans through even small cuts on their body. Without treatment, it can and has been deadly here. Dr. Frey says 12 have died, a reminder of the storm's long, lingering effects. It can be seen in every neighborhood here. Tarps where roofs were sheared off by winds exceeding 200 kilometers an hour. So you put the new decking, the new...
Yes, see the new decking here?
Yeah. We met up with Donovan Birch and his wife Jean in their home, where he thought he might die.
It was so terrible, man. You hear the roaring, woo, powerful. I never heard those sounds yet in all my life.
Oh my God, give him the...
So strong, the corrugated zinc roof panels started to lift away. If Donovan lost the roof, he realized his home would flood.
I hear like a piece of zinc shaking, so I go up the step there and I turn to my wife. She was downstairs there. A piece of zinc getting up, because anytime the wind gone, it's gonna take off everything. I said, no, don't go up there. The wind will blow you away. So I say, okay then, and I start to cry because I know that it's gonna go through and pick off and tear off the whole of the house. So that is one of the worst experiences I ever have, man.
With limited savings, the Birch family has re-roofed half their home. They've turned now to a private fundraiser online in the hopes of raising the cash to finish the job.
I have to get some help, so I don't see the money yet, but I'm trying to see what I can do by the next couple of weeks to cover it.
Getting the roof and the rooms repaired is pressing because this building is also their sole source of income.
This is our livelihood.
This is our livelihood.
We rent it out.
This is your job.
This is
That's
our job.
our income.
When it's pull off, some tenant was in it, and
Yeah.
they lose tablet, they lose phone, they
Yes.
lose passport, they lose everything.
Yeah.
So they got to go somewhere else.
The economic damage is measured by families and by the small nation. The rebuilding cost is half of everything the country produces in a year. Wherever we went in Jamaica, we were told of the people's resilience. You see it in neighbors helping neighbors, like this man up a ladder repairing power lines rather than wait weeks more for the overburdened electrical company. You've had no power since the storm.
No. No light, no power, nothing. We have to wash in with our hands and stuff like that. It's very hard.
All your clothes you're washing
Yeah.
by hand, yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to get back some light.
Carmita Johnston hasn't had power since the hurricane tore the lines away. Do you mind if I ask you what he's doing?
He is shifting the wire, add a piece of wire to it and put it straight. So when the light man come to connect it, it's in its right place. That's what he's doing.
She's been without power all this time and also without work. Like many Jamaicans, Carmita works in the tourism sector. She's a housekeeper in a hotel, but it's too damaged to yet reopen.
None of us have any jobs. Most of the hotels are out. Yeah.